Hello, good evening. Happy Pride Month, and welcome to this week's edition of Good Neighbor Talks. I'm Dion Hill, I'm your host, and I'm sorry, we just we got a little chime in before the show starts, and I was just getting the groove of the music. But welcome to this week's episode of Good Neighbor Talks. And it is June, and it's Pride Month. And that is essential. But before I get into that, I know. Thank you for joining me, and if you're joining me inside the IME app, streaming right live right now, thank you. If not, if you're seeing this later on YouTube, or you should download the app and actually be a part of the community that's in there. We have awesome stories going on a daily basis, different videos, and a lot of good, great information. This week's blog uh, on a pioneer, a person that was very influential in the civil rights movement, but was on the behind the scenes and actually was, a philanthropist and a financier of a lot of the struggles that the civil to facilitate the civil rights movement was Norris B. Herndon. I mean, a lot of us already know after his passing about Bayard Ruskin being like a strategist with Dr. King and actually being gay, and that's why he was actually in the you know was in the background. But Norris B. Herndon was influential and put his money where his mouth is, and he actually also was part of the LGBT community. But he founded um, a lot of positive things, and put his money where his mouth is. His helping with the NAACP and also the United Negro Fund, and just plenty of black causes um, throughout his life. And because of his sexual orientation, you know, it wasn't brought to light. And a person like him and many other people that we can actually be thankful for what they have done for the society as a whole. And that's what our spotlight this month. We're going to be spotlighting those people in history who's actually not only made things better for people in the rainbow community, but as society as a whole. And this is where we get into talking about how education and education about the community and the people that are in the community is basically vital. And like as an ally, um, I want to talk about Pride Month for a second. And last year was the first time that I actually attended a Pride event, um, in the sense of the month of Pride Month, actually being in a large event where vendors and performances and just people and just and I want to give you an idea. If you've never been to a Pride event, this one in particular, it opened my eyes to a lot of things. For one, it was nothing but positivity, which I actually just love. I mean, as soon as we got early in the morning, getting over, setting up our table, well, our IME table and our everything. And I was having problems with the getting the 10 up, and the person that was in the section right next to it, hey, you need any help? Older white couple in their 60s, and they helped me put it up our tent and set up our table. But as soon as you got there, it was just like Happy Pride Month, everybody. Hello, Happy Pride Month. But- And you've seen people from all different ages and then just different races and things. It was actually um, church, religious organizations. There, different um, banks and different businesses. And then what really actually, there was politicians there also and things of that nature. But it was election year, so I didn't really take that into any consideration of the people trying to get a vote. But what actually really touched me the most at Pride was and they had people, and I don't know if I can say the organization, but it was people there, and it was an organization of moms and dads that were just offering hugs and basically offering support for people that were in the community. And I just thought that was so wonderful that this month actually infuses into people the fact that recognition matters. If you've seen our last week's episode, we were talking about representation. I think Pride Month is more about recognition. You need to recognize that people that are in the queer community have made so many contributions to our society on many different levels, but also the recognition to people, everyday people, that be proud of who and what you are. And when you get there, you are ultimately making, it may sound just making the world a better place, but also you are saving lives. Because especially when it comes to, it was a lot of young people there. When I say young, I mean I'm an old man, but like I'm talking about people it's like teens, in early 20s. And I love the fact that like their parents or their guardians, their significant others were walking around with them, because it was many people that I could tell that were like, they were like teens, but their parents were with them, and they were wearing the shirts and the colors, and some said how they love their you know their gay son or their gay daughter. That is so crucial to have those people in their corner and actually publicly voice that and be there. Because looking at statistics like of last year, the Trevor Project said basically 39% of LGBT youth contemplated suicide in the past year. And then when we talk about trans, it's like 46% of trans teens contemplate suicide. And that's even higher when you talk about a person of color that it falls in that dynamics compared to the white counterparts. You know, we actually have a portion that we just dropped in our ally toolkit in the IME app that talks about how LGBT education is how it's so crucial and why it matters and what you should do as an ally to actually answer some of these questions and maybe actually co-op if somebody actually asks you these. And it made me think because the fact of the matter is by being an ally you don't actually have all the answers. And I mean, you could probably tell sometimes during these episodes, I stumble over my words, and sometimes I grasp what I want to actually convey. But the true essence of being an ally is you know just need to stand up for the community, and you can counteract any type of homophobic and just non-inclusive talk and action by just being for humanity and being for the community. And that's the best way you can. You don't actually always, you don't have to go out on a march. You don't have to, write your congressman, but though I do suggest you do if you live in a state where they are using a lot of homophobic laws or trying to pass it, you should write your congressman and your representatives to stop that. But often it's so funny because we're in 2025, but it just seems as though a lot of people don't think we need things like Pride Month, or people think that Pride Month is just being rammed down their throats. I look at it into this perspective. Marginalized communities and minorities in general always need to, in order to have a voice, they got to speak up. If not, you're going to be pushed aside. Why? Why in 2025 is Pride Month still important? Why is Black History Month still important? Why is that? And I don't want to. I'm just compare it in general. Why are these things important? I don't know. Why do you still celebrate fucking Easter or St. Patrick's Day or I don't know Secretary's Day or whatever? Just that something that's actually vital when it comes to people that are marginalized, and you bring it to the forefront, then you actually have the opportunity to pull somebody in and educate them to something that they don't know and can see what the positive is for having that community be a part of the grand pool or the quote unquote melting pot. People that question the existence and why pride exists is because they are not part of the community. But if they actually took a step back and if they wasn't part of, if you're not a part of an elitist group, if you're not the 1%, if you don't have so much cash flow that you can believe or think that these marginalized people don't exist, you'll see yourself in anybody. And I always talk, I've said plenty of times from the first time I did a daggone catering event and it was at an LGBT event, all I saw was that these people were like me. We had more things in common than not. And the only thing that I came away from was ultimate respect for the people that I was around. Um, I don't want people to forget that even when it comes to this product, people sacrificed a lot for people in the community to have this recognition now. I often say when it comes to voting, and people die for the right of my people to vote. And on the flip side to that, everything that happened in the 60s when it came to civil rights for the black people, everyone who ever was marginalized was CC'd in that letter. So in the same instance, when it comes to people in the community, there were people that far before the existence now, going back 50, 60 years, was fighting for something bigger than themselves. So people can openly express who they are, who they love, and how they want to identify in the world. And we're going to get to that in the upcoming weeks, especially next week. We'll be discussing the the infant stages in the creation of pride and the people that were very, very, very influential and vocal on how it began. And oh yeah, like in many revolutions, blood was shed. So some actually should think about that when you dancing and partying and expressing yourself. You have some people to thank for you to be have the ability to do that. And before I get to my guest, because we have a guest tonight, which woo woo, it's our first ally guest because this is good neighbor talks, and we're going to. This is the whole point of having some ally conversation. So, but before that, I want to actually promote um our Pride brunch that we have coming up. It's going to be after the Wilmington Pride March on June 28th. You can go right into our app, and if you're not already part of our updates and our email and things like that, we will be having a brunch after the march on the 28th from 11 to 1. The hours are tentative. We may be expanding according to how many people want to show up and hang out with us. That's how our president is. She'll change the time. She'll have us out there for 6 7 hours if it's enough people and y'all want to hang out. But it's our first annual Pride brunch. It should be excellent. We'll be actually out putting out more details about the menu. I mean, but we'll have a little. It won't be cheese and crackers. I mean, we're looking at some chicken and waffles, some biscuits and gravy, some shrimp and grits, some hearty little something. So it's just some fellowship and just some networking and good time. And so we're as though we can get out there and show our pride and show that we will not be going quietly in the night. So solidarity, especially want to send this invitation out to our allies and our people that are part of the queer community that are people of color. Because as we often say, you know, many of us that are many of you that are part of the community, they have an even more trying time and to maneuver in this thing called life, um, when you are part of the community and you are a person of color. So come out, and it's going to be a mark, but it's going to be a celebration, and that's how we really want to do things at IME, because we fight, 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 but we also want to give out some hugs and some love, to, especially during this time of Pride Month. So go to our app and get the information, and I hope to see you there. And we'll be talking about it more because upcoming, because the day is the 5th. That's it's about 3.5 weeks out. So you'll be hearing more about our Pride brunch. But I want to get into what we're going to be discussing tonight, and I'm going to be bringing in my guest. And my guest is somebody that I often speak about on the Good Neighbor Talks, directly or indirectly, because needless to say, these conversations that I have with you in front of this train, I've been having these conversations for years. Even when I didn't actually know that I was an ally or I was even part of this organization. But I'm going to bring in somebody who is going to give you a perspective that's a little bit different. I don't know. Somebody could be watching this in different parts of the country and maybe actually living in a state that is, you know, not friendly. When you could be one of those no don't say gay states, or they are actually one of the states that have all these 575 different anti-gay bills. But I wanted to bring today, for this first show about Pride, somebody that actually lives in a state that is, I won't say pro gay, but yeah, pro. But when it comes to their legislation and their proactive manner of dealing with, and the inclusion of LGBT when in its education, and on its everyday manner, she lives in a state that conveys that. And that's one of the 8 that actually have LGBT history and um, sex education in schools, and talk about affirming gender identity, and talk about actually allowing children to use the name that they want when it comes to being in school. And and though that gender affirming respect actually saves lives and makes more productive people in society. But I want to bring my sister in, Stephanie, and we want to talk about what's it like. First of all, thank you for being on the show. Um, I went a little bit longer than the 10-15 minutes that I wanted to go to, but I have too much information, and I don't be looking at the clock. But I want to bring you in, and first of all, you are an ally, right?
That's so crazy because what does that even? I know what it means, but it just to me that just sounds bizarre. I've never. I don't know. People are just like if I like you, I like you. If I don't, I don't. I don't. I don't care about labels. That just doesn't register to my brain at all. It never has. So I yes, I guess so. Yes.
Oh, but you're not a okay. You're not. Are you? But you're not a homophobe. You'd have no right. So
No,
so it's
listen,
like,
this is this is just like, I don't even like to say the norm because it's just, again, I mean, we come from like Miss Brenda lived next door. Amazing lady. Miss Brenda and Miss Donna. Nobody ever put like late. Mommy was just never like, oh, they're like, no, it was just like, oh, Miss Brenda looked out for us. Miss Donna looked out for, like, it was just never a thing. Nobody ever had a thing. But I mean, our grandparents are from the South. They're old school. And my grandmother or grand has never, ever said a thing. So it was never even anything that registered to me.
and I didn't realize until mommy told me a couple years ago that like when mom was like sick and after surgery or whatever, like her gay co-workers will come and bring food for her and sit with her and it's and like the she had her friend group was had a couple gay people in it, and
Hey,
then you know how like mommy and I'm sorry I'm sorry people, but our mothers like best friend was Lorenzo.
is Lorenzo.
It is it is still he's still here. Like is Lorenzo a gay black man? And
And
it was just Lorenzo.
he's been around since before me.
Yeah,
They've been forever.
it's been well, yeah, it may be I mean before me, but they've been friends for 50 years. So it's
Years even.
just like, yeah. So being in California, coming from New Jersey, and then how is it, or was it any type of, I would say for me, when I moved to Delaware, it was the first time that like, and that was circa 2008. So this is 17 years ago. And maybe a lot of times I was focused on my own shit, my own life and this, that. But I see it was the first time that I actually seen in a mall two women walking around like they was hugged up, holding hands and this, that, and other. And it just I was just like it was like at the like the Dover Mall in 2008. And I was just like, oh wow, that's how they get down here. Oh, interesting. It just and it was just like I just never saw it before. And granted, like I said, I ain't go to the malls and stuff like that or whatever. That's like, but I never really. It didn't. Never. It wasn't never on my radar, and it wasn't to the point where I was just like, "Oh my god, what the hell's going on?" It was just like, "Oh, it just actually. I actually saw it, and it computed.
Right,
It,
right.
it, so how was it for you moving to California? When,
I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, education wise or just people wise? Because
just people wise, I mean, just like how how is how is the community treated in your opinion in your state?
but there are so many. I mean, we have like developments, Hillcrest, North Park. Like, I mean, they these are like popularly like gay areas, like massive areas. That's where you want to go to have a good drink, to party, to hang out. And I'm telling you, it's right in the middle of the city, but it is wonderful. Um, but and I mean, we have people everywhere, but these are just like in my area that it is. This is just like the known area. So if you want to go to a drag show or anything, everything is going to be there. So that's my favorite place to go
Right,
when I'm
right.
here. But I think we talked before about like again, I don't know everything, so I always ask you questions. And the good thing is that now all the questions that I've asked you before are now like in my work manual, in my work, we have to have education classes that are about 2 hours, like twice a year, just about just answering those questions. Like it says, I told you, now they put the pronouns on your badge. Or when you look somebody up in the computer, it'll tell you their name and their pronouns. They want you to understand that this is how it is. This, you can't just treat people like that because there are repercussions here. So, I mean, there was never a big deal about a bathroom here. Like, they need a bathroom. Give them a bathroom. This is their bathroom. So now that's in our, when we take our, we got to click to see that, okay, that we understand that this is their bathroom and you can't treat people like they're not people. Everybody here is human. They have education here now in middle school, which I think is awesome. I think it
Hmm.
just probably started this year or last year. I think it's amazing because this is life, right? Like you have to live among Black people, you have to live among Mexicans, you have to live, like these are people, and we should treat them as people. So you should have education. And we talked about this, that my coworker kind of was just up in arms about it, and
Your
I was
coworker, can you describe what uh
um
age range,
he's
race,
44-year-old Black male, um
hyper masculine,
very
manly,
masculine,
or just
works out every day,
mm-hmm.
you know, which is great, um
Uh-huh.
but we have real conversations, he and I,
Yeah, okay.
because whatever.
No, say it
But
because y'all may be the only people of your rate, when black people talk to black
yeah,
people. So
we
it
we don't we have, I mean, here in California, we have Black people, and then there are like Black people. So I like I like the Black people. So Lamont is like Black, and I like that because we have Black people that just don't even know they're really Black, or just don't, whatever. But anyway, so
that's
we
a
we
whole nother
do.
different show.
That's a whole different show.
Another different
So,
show.
but we talk. We have very candid conversations about everything. So when he said, like, can you believe that they want my son to take this class? What is this about? I messaged that principal and he didn't call me back. And I was just like, okay, calm down. Like, I don't, what is the big deal? Like, this is life, right? Like, I don't understand. He goes to some school with somebody who is gay, somebody who, like, he should know how to respectfully approach them. He should know, like, pronoun make somebody feel comfortable. Like, that's life, right? With anyone, with
Hmm.
anyone. So I don't understand. But he was up in arms. So when he brought it back up again, he knew that I was not a part of that conversation. He turned to anyone else to have that conversation because there's nothing I can do for you.
Hmm.
But you know where I stand, and now he knows. Don't bring me into those conversations, and he knows not to say any. And he knows not to have a flagrant foul. He knows not to say any like bomb words because he knows I will snap out. Like, I really don't play games like that. So it's just, you just set a boundary. But I just find it, you know, you really awful because, like, this is a learned thing. Hate is
Hmm.
is taught. So I mean, his son is 11.
Okay.
So he doesn't know the difference until, and he goes to school amongst a whole bunch of everything. So he doesn't notice until you point this out to him. Cause I'm like,
Right.
so why? Cause he won't want to go to that mess. How do how do you know? Cause did he say anything to you about it? No, but he don't know. You just said it. He don't know. But at this point, he's told him, so he taught this child hate.
Hmm.
So I think that's awful. And in our house, hate was like a bad word because
Yeah.
somebody had to really harm you and you had to really wish for you to say the word hate. You can dislike the heck out of somebody, but hate is severe. And how can you hate a group of people, first of all, and then just hate somebody who hasn't harmed you? How has this community caused you harm or danger or disruptive? Like how can you hate someone you don't even know?
Hmm. I want to get into our conversation that we had. I don't even know when it was. It had to be over 20 years ago. We had a conversation because between the two of us with biological and bonus get through marriage is that between the two of us, we got 10
And
kids.
kids.
You know, so we had, I don't even know how we got in a conversation. I don't I don't know where we was at. It stands out to me, but I think it may have been over a couple sodas and we just was hanging out and we came up with the premise or we had the discussion about what if one of our kids were gay. Do you remember how we even got there?
I don't know how we got there, but over sodas, we got into quite a few deep conversations. Um,
Right.
but realistically, I think I might have even said like, not what if, but like, how
Do the
many?
math. I remember you say do the
Yeah,
math.
like
It's
how
10 of
many?
them. It's so
Like
many. So
that's
like,
the thing. It wasn't like what it like how many? Like two, four, like how like out of 10 kids, we gotta juggle this out. But um well I think we just talked about it like I just love my kid. I That's it. I just remember sitting in the driveway even with my husband and like the boys just kind of went by doing like the Beyonce dance and we just kind of turned around and said, we just gonna love him. It don't matter. It wasn't it wasn't even a thing. It's just like whatever.
we actually we actually picked two kids though.
We did. I know which
We
two we
actually
picked.
did pick two kids that we thought.
I know which two we picked, but we were wrong.
Yeah,
It's
we was wrong, and we were wrong, and we were wrong. And see, that was and I want to say that was ignorance based on a
no, but
stereotype
that was
that
our
somebody else. No, 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 no. But I'm saying a stereotype that somebody else put in our mind, society, because the two we picked were a little, if little feminine. They would cry and whine, and just a little
they,
soft.
they're going to see
But
this and know who we're talking about.
yeah, but we talking. It was so ignorant because we were talking about what, like a 10-year old and a 6 year old. You know what I mean? So it was so just dark and just demented and
Yes,
just stupid. It was ignorant.
it was ignorance, but to me at that time, because again, we're talking 20 years ago, that was our way of saying that, like, we just love our kids for
Right.
being our kids. It doesn't matter to us. I mean, of course, my daughter is gay, but that wasn't like a term. My husband just was like, oh, something, her new girlfriend, and I was like, oh, that's nice. Like, it wasn't like a what? It was never even a thing. It's just that's what he
Right.
said. And it was just like, oh, nice. Oh, her and her new girlfriend just got a new apartment. I was like, oh, that's nice. We've never had a discussion about it because there was no, like, when did that happen? It was none of that ever happened. It was just like, oh, she found somebody that she really cares for and that cares for her. Good for her. Good for them.
Right.
That's it.
And the craziest thing is, like, I remember several years ago having a conversation with one of our relatives and them telling that their daughter came out to them,
Yeah.
and the daughter was like 16. And, like, again, these is conversations over sodas sitting out in the yard, and we was I'm having a conversation with our relatives, and we just and I may have mentioned my organization that I or whatever, but he was just like, "Cuz, like, yo, my daughter came out to me, like, she's like 16. She's like, yo, I just hugged her and just told her I love her. It didn't matter." And it was
Right.
just like I had to explain to him how powerful that was.
Right.
That she felt comfortable enough to let you know, and that by you actually giving back and like saying like you loved her, it didn't matter, none of like whatever. Like, yo, that affirmation was
Right.
key because some people, it's too many children and teens, they don't feel comfortable coming out to their parents, and to the point where as though they hurt themselves and they even run away or even ultimately try to commit suicide. So I think he kind of like, but he said that's how the type of relationship they had. They talked about everything and we felt comfortable. But I was like, yo, that people just don't know how big that is.
Right.
That just to you know, be an ally to your child and just see that, yo, you my kid, I love you. Like, yo, this is who you are. I accept you for who you are. You
Right.
know, too many we accept badass kids. We accept these daggone kids that want to be, you know, breaking shit, fucking up in
Right.
school, or going to prison. But you don't want to accept somebody just because their orientation or their identity. You know what I mean?
Right. And not to
I
mention
think.
the great thing about that guy, our relative, is that he came from a place and a time and an atmosphere of where he 100% could have been the extreme opposite.
Oh yeah,
So
absolutely. I mean, I
but
spoke, I spoke upon it, I spoke about it on here, being as though I explained like half my family is like heavy Christians, but in my generation, with my cousin level, and they basically all Muslim,
right,
and it's very anti-gay sentiment, and not even to bring on the fact of being black and being from the quote unquote, you know, urban society, whereas
and this particular person came up under like a militant time.
yeah,
You
a
know,
militant
so
Muslim. Yeah,
yes. So
yeah, a
again, he could have
militant,
been
a
extreme.
Farrakhan Muslim. Yeah,
Yeah. Yes. Throw up
yeah,
his book.
yeah. For those, and I'm sorry for people, but people that's in the community, y'all know a Nation of Islam Muslim, and and it, yeah, it was a whole nother thing because I don't want to get into it because then I got to bring down the difference between a Sunni and everybody. It's a lot, but
That's,
Farrakhan, a
that's a whole
Farrakhan
nother
Muslim
thing.
was, yeah. But also, I mean, if people in the community have been part of our lives, all our lives, but I often talk about, and not on here, I haven't on here, but in speeches and actually other events, I talk about our sister. And I often would say, like, how much of a good person that she was. And I had,
Is.
oh, what? No, I'm talking about, yeah, she is, but I'm saying she's still alive. I keep saying was, but I'm thinking when I would actually have speeches. And then I had to stop myself and court myself, like, I am not going to sit here and explain how much of a good person she is because she's gay. Because I just like, oh my, I got to, my half, she's gay, but she's a good person. She does this. She got a family. She got her own. Like, yo, I sound real stupid explaining this away. Other than I have a sister that's gay, so
Right.
it's and the the craziest thing is because the way she came to us because we didn't grow up together and hey, look, I ain't trying to air our
Well,
family business, but go
I
ahead, go
mean,
ahead.
I mean, of course, we met when I was 25 and she was 25, but that's fine. Uh,
That's that's a
but
whole nother black story.
that's a whole nother show. But um, we embraced her right away.
Right.
But she, not that I felt like she needed to have that conversation with us, but she just completely just, she would tell like tales, and you knew she was like, not telling it, like no lie, no lie. Our sister would show up with a new baddie every other month. Kept a baddie, and oh, this is my roommate. This one is my friend.
She was still doing the 70s shit. Oh, this is my
we
roommate.
we work together. Call my
Right.
son sometime. And it's just like that one's bad, that one's bad, that one's a baddie. So I remember you saying to me, and I was just like, why is she doing it? And you were just like, she gonna tell us when she's ready. And I feel
Right.
like it was at my 30th birthday party. I feel like
Yeah. 5 years later.
yes. So yes, I feel like it was at my 30th birthday party where we had already had quite a few sodas. Um, but she felt like she made this announcement, and you were just like, I know. Can we get another one of those red, white, and green lights? Like,
Yo, she really was just like, yeah, yeah. I'm like, okay, yeah, we know. I'm glad you finally comfortable to say it. Cool. And this is literally 20. This is 20. Oh, wait a minute, 30th birthday party. So this is
30th
yeah.
birthday. So that was
So this yeah,
that was
eight.
that was that was some time ago. Come on, man.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, this was a long, but it was like,
What is this?
oh, I ain't, all right, see, you want to be like Pierce and just always want to be 40 every year now? Okay, cool.
I mean,
All right.
listen, mentally, I just turned 26. So
That that is true, but that's a whole another story that
mentally,
I'm
and
not.
that means I have grown up, okay?
But it was so crazy because once she, because she had, of course we accept her because you, it was no denying that she had, had all the features of our dad.
Right.
And when you talk about always having a baddie, did she, she had her dad's pool when it came to women too. So it's just
Yes.
like,
Yes.
yeah, yeah, that's
Mama
it.
is Mama is a Rolling Stone.
Yeah, yeah. It just was the same aspect, and it's so crazy because it's like I never get how it's so, and this is my ignorance. When I came to this organization, but it's just like my ignorance has always been, why is these situations so traumatic? If you find out that a loved one is part of the community, why is it so traumatic? And I told the story about, how I had an ex that when I was dating, and when her teenage daughter came out to her, she basically blamed herself and thought the world was coming to an end. And what did I do wrong? And the whole just ignorant it see towards what it was about, and me trying to explain to her. And again, this was several years before this organization was founded and I was a part of it. But I was just like, what? What are you talking about? You should be happy that your child came to you. She told me how much she struggled through high school. And she thought it was some type of, she would have problems in school, and she was sometimes she would complete her work, or she had issues like getting arguments and fight. I said, this she's been struggling for years because she's been dealing with her identity, her sexuality, and she finally has come to you, and you think it's your fault, and it made it all about her. This crazy woman said, "Oh my God, I'm never going to have grandchildren." This, this
And,
is the ignorance that we
and
deal with out here.
yeah, and that's what I was going to say. Like when anybody reacts that way, it's because the idea of what you expected from them is not it 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 doesn't meet your idea. So
Hmm.
to you, it's just like, oh, this is all I ever wanted. Everything is internal. Oh, people are going to think this of me. Like that's crazy. So and people try to like turn to the Bible about this, and all that is just a farce. When you use the Bible in ways like this, you make it like the Bible says something about hating somebody, and that is not in there at all.
Well, let's hold on. Let's get on. Let's go and stay on there for a second, because unlike your brother who's a heathen, you are a, a card carrying Christian.
I
And
love the Lord.
okay, and see, this is the portion where I talk about how my family is, religious, and talk to me about how maybe inadvertently, it was probably inadvertently, but how you chose cer- a certain church, and the church actually preached allyship and acceptance to the community.
Right. So I am not religious, but
Okay.
I
Uh,
love me some Jesus, okay? So that's the difference. But this was I always went to like these smaller churches, but they always kind of had like a certain angle. So this was a non-denominational church, and I found it amazing because we had a pastor that was a preacher, and then we had a pastor that was a teacher. So we really got educated. And that's where I really learned that people interpret the Bible to their lifestyle, their wants, their desires. It is very manipulated. So this church really just talked about how everything in the Bible says thou not chop, you know, do not judge, love all people. God hung out with the lowest of the low
Yes.
according to what society thought of them. He was
Right.
hanging out with prostitutes and the thugs and the
Yes.
thieves. The eunuch is what they called in the Bible, but I digress. But these were his people because he was showing you love everybody, like love, show everybody love. Like you don't just judge people by what you perceive. So this is what we so and at my church you could come as you are. So people came as they were, and they taught us like acceptance and love, and that's what I appreciated about that church. um and I brought you there, and
Right.
you're a heathen, but you
I
really
am.
all my nephews look like I brought my family there because this is this is what they enveloped. It's just like just love your community, love your neighbor. So, and I have not found another church like that, but um I'm really thankful for getting those lessons before I came here.
Hmm.
um because it's always been a no-brainer to me, but when I never had a defense mechanism against the Bible, because I'm not a Bible thumper, as you would say, so I never
Yeah.
had a defense mechanism, and they gave me all these tools. So it's just
Hmm.
like, that's a cop out. When you say God said, that's a cop out. You're a liar. You're a heathen. Like, don't tell me you're a Christian and then tell me you don't love anyone, because you're a liar.
Right. Because I have an issue with that because when you say cop out, I feel the same way because I don't think you can use an end all around to actually ostracize an entire people. And again, how we talk about people that you don't know, a group that you don't know. Like you can have a problem with an individual, and I get that, but it has to be for some apparent reason, and it can't be because just because of who they are. They, or even if you and using religion, it is a cop out because because you haven't taken the time to actually try to know someone. And I always related this. Okay, how do you talk to someone, or how do you relate being pro LGBT? Yeah, I mean, we have the same stance, but you told me that, like, you don't understand how a black person can be against a gay person. Now, how do you feel that? How did you come to that conclusion?
I mean, because we were treated the same way, right? And they still try to take our rights from us to this
Hmm.
day. So how can you not relate? How can you not understand? Like, how can this plight not be a plight? It, no, the thing is, as a community, and everything is just, I hate that hate is pushed forward, especially in this time where um, the person that is running
The
this
administration,
thing,
let's say the administration.
sure, is just like pro hate, and just it encourages a divide, encourages these things that some of these kids never even thought of knew because they were so young. And now here you are, the person that we're supposed to look to guide us in the right direction, to get us, to a better living situation. And you are saying, hate these people. They're awful. Get them out of here. They shouldn't be able to do this. I don't want them in these schools. We're just going to start praying in the schools, knowing good and darn well he hasn't prayed a damn hit. Moving on, but
Right.
it's just it's just very frustrated that we don't see at a time like this that there should be no divide. This is our fight together, because at the end of the day, they are trying to strip humans of their rights. And I always say, there's no reason for the government to be in my house.
Mm-hmm.
Get out of my house. Meaning, when you talk about my body, my lifestyle, who I love, what I want to do with my body, that's none of your business. I pay my taxes, I work a job, I have insurance. So whatever it is that I can do to better my situation is not your business. Get out of my house. What I'm teaching my kids, what my kids are reading, is not your business. Get out of my house. Who I love, or what I want to do, or what I decide I want to be, or what I want you to call me, is not your business. Get out of my house. Because why does it concern you? The only reason it concerns you, and the only reason that you can hate somebody, is fear. And what are you afraid of?
That's a powerful thought, and often, and I believe it's true. People fear the unknown. People fear it's so, and if you want to be relative to, like, when it comes to black people, people always feared black people, but they didn't know black people. They didn't they didn't congregate with black people. A lot of times it would, in certain situations, they wouldn't see, some people wouldn't see their first person of color until they went away to college, because they were so isolated from
Right,
this and
right,
in a lot of situations, if you find somebody that was part of, that was the gay community, at least back in my day, that it was a lot of stuff was closeted, a lot of stuff and even a lot of the older gay people, when I have conversations with them, they during events and things like that, they are kind of like still back to those old, they still have those old ways.
right.
So, like, whereas though they would, meet in secret, meet in, places secret, and not want to be out and about, because, and I understand, because, with it could be repercussions and things like that, and fear for being, getting, harassed and things like that. But it's just like, today's revolution, it has to be upfront. And the last 10 years, with, the different, it's always on the political end, when you push things so progressively forward, it's always a pushback, because whenever they, I think the people, trans people are now, this generation, or this time in life, that's trans people are the black people, or trans people are, look at them, they're bad, these are the one, these are when it comes to trans people, it's like, oh, basically they make it seem like how, they're not people. Does any of this sound familiar to you, Black people, when animals, not really human, they actually was they wouldn't even they would love their pets more than they would actually care about you, type of thing. Not wanting them to use the same bathrooms or the same water fountains, not wanting them to go to school, the same schools as you. I never, that's my whole point. This has been done to, and I don't, it's so crazy because, and I've said this on the show before, like our kids are from the Obama generation. Their president was Obama. So and I don't know if they thought this is some post racial, you know, utopia that we've been living in ever since 2008. But the fact of the matter is, because of 8 years of Obama, is because you done had 12 years of Trump. Because the nation bounced back and said, "Oh shit,
Mm-hmm.
y'all people that don't look like me and is not in the majority are getting too much power." And see, people, they don't like change, and they don't like change rapidly, and they don't want to accept things from somebody that don't look like them, and they want to wield their power. And the only way they can get other people on board with this, because guess what? Many of these people that have an issue with the LGBT community, they are in the same economic strife. They are if they not there, you in the same position as that. You not, but you always got to have somebody to blame, and you always got to have somebody to make you feel that you are superior of, so that way you can deal with the fact that it's not my fault, it's them, and this is the reason why I'm in the situation, other than you just being a fuck up, other than you just being blaming somebody else, and because they trying to take your country away. When you was in Oakland, what was the saying on the wall about
Oh shoot.
is nobody's country on stolen land?
Yes, yes, yes.
And see, homophobes, racists, Nazis, elitists, the one percenters, all those. None of this shit. If you are not the 7% that still survived after you colonial people came and just murdered everybody that was here, this ain't, we all immigrants. We all in the same boat. We all are people that are humane, that deserve life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, like that fucking paper said. But on the same,
Right.
in the same instance, you deserve the right to have pride, as this month says, in who you are, because not other do representation, recognition, recognition matters. And the only true way to be an ally is to stand up for whenever you can. And like, just like how you talk about how, you get to a point when somebody knows how you stand, they're not gonna bring that shit in your area no more.
Right.
And I don't even, you know what the craziest thing is? I don't even know. and I guess you probably feel the same way. I know you feel the same way. You don't even look at it as where as though standing up for being humane when it comes to that, like like it's a data boy. you know.
No, no, not at all. And the thing that I try to tell, I did have this conversation with my uncle, who was very intelligent, but you know that they separated us in the classes many years ago. They would separate us in the classes on purpose because it was just like they wanted there to be a group that felt better than the other. So in order to do that, anything that is against their grain is no good.
Hmm.
So and people are afraid to stand up against the grain, and it's just like it's like stop being so ignorant that you don't realize that this has been implanted in you
Hmm.
to divide, to classify you from other people.
Hmm.
But people are not, people are just, I'm not going to say not intelligent. They're just so ignorant that they don't realize that this is what is being embedded in you because these people they want to make it like, oh, like they talk about the Mexicans, oh, they taking all your jobs and all the black jobs, and now y'all getting rid of all the Mexicans, and who now don't nobody want to farm, but they was taking your job. Like nobody realized that they dividing people into classes, and it's unnecessary, and it's unfair. And I just wish people would pay better attention to that. So when I was away and I went to visit family, and I think we have talked about this, and I was so taken aback. Like I was in the bathroom, and my relative dropped the F word so like hard, and just like it was like 1966. I just felt like I just got drip.
Hmm.
I screamed so loud in the bathroom because I just couldn't. I was just like, what? Like I love this man, and I'm just like, you can't do that. Like you cannot say that word. Oh well, no, it's not okay. It's not okay. Like what you felt like was okay, and your militant, it's not okay now. Like this is a part of your lineage as well, and you need to acknowledge that and embrace that because that person loves you, and do you think they would appreciate you dropping that word like it's just Wednesday? Like no, that's not okay.
And it's crazy because we've, like many families, have a lot of people that were part of the community. I mean, and I mean this. I mean, you know what I mean, like
Right.
older from older generations.
Yes.
But it just wasn't. It was just that it was just wasn't discussed. But the
Me
blatant like
neither.
disrespect.
And they was at the cookout.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's always it was back in the the Clinton of don't ask, don't tell. But you know what I mean, just like the whole roommates and all that. But it's just like, but you respected. We we was brought up to respect everybody,
Everybody. I
and it
mean,
was and we was brought up to daggone, especially if they was your elder, even if they was a crackhead, even if they was a druggie. You still, I mean, it's the fact you just respected people for who they were. I mean, just that's how it was, and
we had some good crackheads, okay? Uh,
they would clean your house they would clean your house and your yard for $1. That
mhm.
was a good, it
Take,
was
take it,
a
eat a
dollar went
sandwich and
far
take
back
it
in
to
the day.
the
But
bank.
but yeah, I want to kind of wrap this up. But I mean, it's like, let me, what's your experience when it comes to being, eh, you say it's like, it's just norm to be with acceptance where you're at in California, and just on your job. Do you work with any people that are part of the community, or I mean, indirectly, or
I
in your?
do. One of my coworkers is gay,
Hmm.
a young man, but I mean, it's just never been a thing. And some days he'll come with, with earrings and, makeup on, and some days he's coming in pants. And it's never, I don't remember a time where anybody was just like, oh, what did he do? It's never happened. It's never happened.
Okay.
And this generation, because I'm going to say he's like 24. So this
Hmm.
generation is so much more accepting and embracing of, this is just the norm to just kind of love on people. So this, it's the older generation that is instilling this, but it's just not a thing. You don't talk about it, and that's what I appreciate about, I mean, for me here in this, I would rather you be your genuine self. I would rather really know who you are. So I don't want to approach you or um, call you by something you don't want to be called. I would never want to like be offensive. So to me, what is instilled here is that you never have to feel that way.
Hmm.
Like, you should never feel uncomfortable. So I appreciate that. Like, I don't have to ask like, oh my goodness, what should I call you? It's right there. It's right there. So I'm not uncomfortable trying to figure it out, and you're not uncomfortable trying to explain it to me, because it's not a thing. I just want to be respectful, and I appreciate that in this time and this era here, that people are able to be themselves, because why wouldn't you want that for anyone?
So you let me back up it. So like, your job in the whole system, because it's a big company. I don't, of course we don't, but it's a big company. Um,
Right.
everybody like it. You are allowed to people have their preferred name that they would like to
Yes.
be called. If it's
Yes.
not actually okay.
When you come in for orientation, you fill out what your name is, then what you want to be called, and then your pronouns. Even if you go to get your license, I don't care. Your name is Dion. If you want to be Andrea, your name is Andrea. If you want to be a female,
Hmm.
you are a female. You just get the documentation, just says that this is who you are. And here by law, you cannot get any pushback on that.
Hmm. Excellent, excellent. And
In the
see, and
schools, and
that's
I
just
know I can understand that, I mean, I see that issue here because they have permission slips and is granted, but I know
right.
in a lot of other places there's
You
an
have
issue with
you can opt
schools
out. Yeah.
where said that they are calling their child by their chosen name. Um, that, if they're a boy and they want to be called a girl's name, that there's a lot of pushback on that in other states, but here it's not. Um, because once you are at middle school, it's up to you.
Yeah, but who are
It's up to you.
but
We're not gonna.
that's between you and your parents. Like, what? Why did somebody else? Because I think that all that has to do with, because the people don't want to have the job to explain shit to their children. And
But
that's the true thing.
the thing is, why do you feel like I don't know. I don't know. People pretend that children are stupid. They're not stupid. They see what's going
That's
they see what they see what's going on just like you see what's going on. But you are so in your feelings and in your bag that you feel like you have to go through this grand explanation of something because you feel like, oh, I don't want you to feel like you want to do that. Like what? That's the only ration. Like nothing makes sense. You don't have to have this big long discussion. Like, well, you know, Tommy is now 10 and want that. No, they're not slow. They pay attention, but and until something is taught to them, it's not it's not a thing. If they
yeah.
are confused, they will ask questions. But people take it upon themselves to insert here where there wasn't an insertion line there.
And it's just like I we done stated already on the stream, and that anybody with any mind knows that a child is not born with hate. A child is a blank canvas. And if you don't feed negative thoughts about uh, a race, a community, any type of people, they are not going to have those thoughts. And if they actually got those negative, if they received those, case in point, and I didn't even notice this happened with one of my kids. They had a friend or a couple friends that they used to, and they were in middle school that they used to go hang out with after school, a little couple hours, this, that, and other, whatever. And then I noticed I, some time went by and they didn't talk about this person no more. They didn't go hang out with no more. And I just had the conversation. Yo, what's up? Why you don't go hang out with this? And I don't know. They do stuff that I ain't into no more. I'm like, yo, what's up? What's going on? And it was just like, well, and I think it was around 11, 12, 13, but they was smoking, drinking, and getting weed. And and he didn't want to be a part of that.
Right.
And I say that because the upbringing, it was pushback in the same aspect, whereas though my children over the years have told me, you can't be that way. You can't say that. And it's not even anything derogatory about the gay community. They talking about, if when I say something about people in general or something negative about a person, you, you shouldn't be like that. You should not say that. When it comes to things about this, when I told them about this organization and I was a part of it, it was always like, oh, that's cool. Like, I don't know, like, I never had to have these uncomfortable homophobic conversations with my children because I didn't push that on them. And so it's like, it's just weird. It's just weird because like I I just wish that more people like us could actually voice the fact that you don't have to be gung ho waving a pride flag like you know your pride curtains you got back there, but you still could just be like I have respect for the existence of a people and not just automatically just and the term right to exist and the humanity, and then when you on the flip side using the term that I do not like to use, but when it comes to the trans community with that bill that is possible that passed, they will be committing genocide on a people.
That's their intention.
Oh, I know, but
And again, the
I don't
question
even.
that society should ask is, what are you afraid of? What is your fear here? How does that
How does
affect
it
you?
affect you and yours and your house and your day to day?
Because when I come in my house, I mind my business. I know Jackson lived next door, but what he do in his house is in his house. I don't care. If it doesn't affect me as a person, I don't care. And that's how it should be. And the great thing, and when you were talking about our kids, the great thing about our kids is like, and it just goes to show it's not a thing unless you make it a thing. In
Hmm.
our houses, it was never a thing. So they are accepting of everyone because that's what they saw. So this is a thing that is created, and people need to realize that and reverse that because it's too heavy to like it's too much going in the world that have like extra hate. It just makes no sense. It's exhausting actually. Like you should be tired. Just like, oh my God, we gotta deal with this all month. No, you can go in your house and mind your damn business because that's what your house is for. What happened if you don't have nothing nice to say to just shut the hell up? I mean, that's how it went, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Stuff, something like that. But like, just get a grip on yourself. Like, just if you are not unhappy in your life, it's just no reason for you to just go around like. And if you're unhappy, stay your ass in your damn house.
No, it's because of the gays. It's, the gays are making me unhappy.
Right.
it's because of
They're,
it's because of trans
so
people.
they're so happy in all these colors. I can't stand it. Close your eyes and shut up. Like whatever. Get get a life.
It's so, and I want to end it up on this, but it's so when you talk about a population that is less than 2% total population, they do not have the power to make your life unattainable and just they, there is no, they don't have the economic or the political or just the numbers to actually really make a dent in the way
No,
that
but
anybody lives their life. They,
maybe they think they just if you give them order after midnight, they'll just populate and take over the country, and then it'll just be a
I
whole
don't.
bunch of like
Now, see, now you're going to get it.
well
That
maintained neighborhoods
if
and
you do,
happy
now you're
people,
going to
and
make.
that's what
And
they'll
I don't
follow.
want it. I don't need peers jumping in on that. But the whole thing about like indoctrination and that, like what did we talk about before you like. They think you can catch it like the flu, or if you
Right.
sneeze on over there.
Yeah.
It's just the whole ignorance of that. Yeah, and
It all goes back to but
yeah, but you know, things are. things make you gay, or maybe they're going to talk about it's the food that you eat, or the this, that, and other. It's just I don't have time to deal with it, just dumb people. But
Well, the guy, and then I'm not going to say his name, but he said that the vapes coming in from China are making our kids gay,
oh,
and
so you
he's
should
in
get
charge of things.
American made vapes. Is that what it is?
I guess so. Well, if you don't want to be gay, don't get that pina colada vape from China, because let me tell you,
And the bad part is there are sections in this country, and just like any other, that if it's on the television and somebody with a title says it, they just believe it blind. And
nobody wants to read anything.
well, they can't read anything because they took the books away, and they haven't taught cursive. So I know I know a 22-year-old they can't tell time by the hands. I mean,
No, my son,
it's a
who's
whole
about
bigger picture.
to be 30, my son who was born in the group,
Yeah, it's
just like forget
see
Dexter.
that's how you no, but this is how you can dictate what people know because they are educated, and you can make it where as though a section of people are so bad. I I know for a fact, to my opinion, that Pennsylvania went to red and because a lot of the transphobia and a lot of commercials were being put on the television during football games talking about how Kamala Harris was going to use loud taxpayer money to have people to have sex changes in prison. And like it ran and ran and ran. And it was plenty of daggone homophobic black men that voted
It's
for that man
and
because he was
hate that hate propaganda that pushes people over the edge. Like, no, oh my goodness, they can't do that in prison. Why?
but that it
Are you
wasn't even true. It wasn't
right? But
true.
this is the
But this
propaganda to get people to be like, oh, and they don't when they go to the polls, they don't really read what's happening because that's confusing. That's just how it
yeah,
goes.
yeah, and not even to mention the ignorance of because the smart thing that was done is they punched down on people, on everybody that everybody else don't like. People don't like immigrants. People don't like gay people. People don't. People definitely don't like. And when I say gay people, I'm talking about specifically trans people. Um, and then they use these social issues to make it a broader, and people get caught up in them. But you guess what? Your eggs is still high. Guess what? You A lot of you done lost jobs that you had in the previous administration. Trans people didn't take those jobs. Trans people don't make their eggs what they are. Trans people don't talk about the gas prices. Trans people ain't deny you for that loan for that mortgage. Trans people ain't taking away your Medicaid and your daggone health care. Because God, you got one trans person in Congress out of 400. I'm sorry, if you count the Senate, 530 representatives. That one didn't take all this shit from, but you would think because of what's going on, it's always somebody else other than it's you and your ignorance and your hatred.
Right. See, and that's the thing. People don't get that this is the agenda, right? They pushing all this hate forward, right? This is blatant in your face. Meanwhile, in the background, they are taking our Medicaid, they're taking our insurance, they're taking our EBT, they're taking our kids' foods, they're but no, no, no. I hate that gay person, I hate that black person, can't stand that Mexican. Meanwhile, they're robbing us of our rights in the background. They're telling me what I can and can't do with my body. But we're not focused on that because I hate real issue, and that's the smoke screen that people realize. They throw up this big smoke bomb. In the meantime, they robbing you blind in the back. They're in the back taking your watch and your TV.
Hmm. Craziness. But I want to
I
end
know
it
you
up
gotta
to
wrap this
here.
up. We
Yeah,
can
I
do this.
mean, thank
We can
you.
do this.
Yeah, we gotta wrap this up, and yeah, we
Uh,
could, and I mean, maybe down the line you'll come back on when we talk about a different, another subject. But I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk about how it is and a semi utopia of a positivity when it comes to. And I think I know it's homophobes in California. It's not a
there's always
utopia,
work to be done, right?
but
It's
yeah, but I you know what? It is a template on how a society should put guardrails in place to protect those that are being mistreated and just bring them into the fold and with inclusion. So I want to thank you for sharing your stories and many of the stories that we done discussed over the years, but actually televised it to all these great people that are watching or that's going to watch it. I want to bring back up before we end for that the Pride brunch that we'll be having after the Pride March in Wilmington on June 28th. That would be from 11 to 1. Um, Place will be discussed later. I don't, but you need to get the app. And if you're not already part of IME, you need to sign up. Um, Also, I want to promote. We actually have a new show that's coming out that'll start on June 10th, which is LGBTQ plus in Black. It's going to be a panel show and have discussions about different topics that reflect people in the community, but with a Black viewpoint. Because a lot of times things happen in society a certain way, but they affect Black people a different way. And I believe the first topic that we'll be having is talking about don't question a person's like sexuality and who they love. Just respect them for being who they are. Um, Roundabout, I'm paraphrasing, but we have a very diverse panel of male and females and different you know uh, identity or orientation on there. So it should be very very interesting because the panel that I've seen the panel and it should be a hoot. Um, I'm telling you, it's something that you. I think it's something that you would actually you like because it's going to be and the six people that's on this panel are very, and they opinionated and they have they have different just they bring different things of different points of view, and they had a lot of they professionals and they have different type of
Different
lives.
aspects.
But and that's the but that's the crazy thing when I say crazy, whereas though is many different sides of people in the community. You got professionals, you got preachers, pastors, you got civil workers, you know actors, musicians, this, that, and other, and a lot of that dynamic will be on that show, and that's LGBT plus in black BLK in black. And that'll be starting on Tuesday, June 10th. So five. So you can get that on Tuesdays, and you get your allies and your good neighbor talks on Thursdays, and the Pride brunch. And I'm going to keep you can scan the QR code so you can sign up for that. Good food, good fellowship, and a great cause. Because the cause that we talk about is you. And with that, I want to say good night, and I'll talk to you later, neighbor. Bye.